Portugal just killed one of the most famous tax regimes in the world. But what if I told you the replacement for 2026 is actually even better? When the news broke that Portugal was ending its Non-Habitual Resident or NHR tax program, the internet exploded. Everyone assumed Portugal had shut its doors to digital nomads and expats forever. But the truth is the complete opposite. Portugal didn't just delete NHR, it quietly rolled out a brand new regime that almost nobody is talking about yet. In this video, you'll learn exactly what happened to the old system, what the new 2026 regime is, much tax you'll actually pay, and whether Portugal still makes sense for you as a remote worker. So let's clear up all the confusion. First, what was NHR? For over a decade, it was one of the most generous tax programs in Europe. It allowed foreigners to pay almost no tax on many types of foreign income. We're talking 0% on lots of foreign earnings, 10% on pensions, and a flat 20% tax for a long list of high-value professions. It was an incredible deal. So incredible, in fact, that over 100,000 expats moved to Portugal to take advantage of it. But it was, perhaps, too generous. While expats were flocking in, local Portuguese citizens began struggling with soaring rents and a severe housing shortage. This created a perfect storm. The government faced a major housing crisis, growing pressure from the European Union to end what they saw as unfair tax competition, and significant political backlash at home. The media narrative quickly became that foreigners were to blame for the rising cost of living. Ending the NHR program became an easy political win. But here's the plot twist. Portugal didn't just leave a tax vacuum. Instead, they replaced NHR with a brand new system designed for 2026 and beyond. And this new system changes everything. It's officially called the Incentivo Fiscal Retorno de Residentes, but some are calling it NHR 2.0. Most people have no idea how it works, so let me give you the simple version. First, the headline benefit: a 50% tax exemption on your income for 5 years. That's right, half of your taxable income just disappears. Portugal's top tax bracket is 48%. With this exemption, your effective tax rate drops to around 24%. To put that in perspective, that's significantly lower than the top rates in France, Spain, Italy, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Second, it offers massive benefits for remote workers. This is a huge change from the old NHR, which was focused on a specific list of high-value professions. The new system is much broader. It explicitly includes remote employees, freelancers, and independent contractors, making it far more accessible to the modern workforce. Third, what about foreign income? While the 0% tax is gone, the new regime still offers big discounts. Foreign dividends, interest, royalties, and business income all receive reduced taxation. It's not a tax-free ride anymore, but it's still very favorable compared to standard Portuguese rates in many other European countries. Fourth, and this is a really big deal, the new system is EU-approved and politically stable. The EU absolutely hated the old NHR program. This new regime, however, was designed to be compliant and sustainable for the long term. That means less risk of it being suddenly canceled in a few years. You can plan your life around it with more certainty. And fifth, a critical point: you must become a resident. This isn't a loophole to avoid taxes while living somewhere else. You have to actually move to and live in Portugal to qualify. The government wants people who will contribute to the local economy and community. So, who really benefits from this new system? Let's break it down by income level. If you earn between $40,000 and $70,000 a year, honestly, Portugal might not be your best tax choice. There are other countries with lower tax burdens in that bracket, like Georgia, Costa Rica, or Thailand, that might make more financial sense. But if you earn between $70,000 and $150,000, Portugal suddenly becomes very, very attractive. That 50% tax exemption makes a huge difference, dropping your effective tax rate significantly and putting a lot more money back in your pocket. Now, if you're earning between $150,000 and $300,000, your tax outcome in Portugal under the new system is likely better than what you defined in Spain, Italy, Greece, Malta, or Cyprus. It puts Portugal right at the top of the list for high-earning professionals in Europe. And for those earning above $300,000, You'll still pay a fair amount of tax, but it will be far, far less than you would in most of Western Europe. So, let's be clear. Portugal is not a zero-tax country anymore. It has moved on from that model. But what it has become is arguably even better. One of the world's best hybrids of incredible quality of life combined with a very reasonable, reduced tax burden. You get the beautiful beaches, the amazing food, the vibrant culture, and a tax bill that doesn't make your eyes water. The story isn't that Portugal is closed for business. The real story is that it has just become smarter. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe for more insights on global tax and lifestyle. So after all the drama, the big question is this. Should you still even consider moving to Portugal in 2026? Let's break it down, starting with the good stuff. First, the pros. Even without the old NHR, Portugal offers a significantly lower effective tax rate than most of Western Europe. This isn't some shaky, temporary deal. It's a stable, EU-friendly tax regime that's designed to last. Beyond the numbers, you're getting the legendary Portuguese lifestyle. We're talking beautiful historic cities, absolutely incredible food, solid infrastructure, and one of the largest, most vibrant remote work and expat communities on the planet. Plus, you get the benefits of living inside the European Union. This means a high degree of safety, access to modern healthcare, and the freedom to travel and live within the Schengen area. That's a huge advantage that most of the popular zero-tax countries simply can't offer. You're not just moving to a country, you're gaining access to a continent. But of course, it's not all sunshine and pasties de nata. Let's talk about the cons, because they are real. Portugal is famous for its bureaucracy. Be prepared for government processes to move at their own pace, which can be frustratingly slow. Housing, especially in popular cities like Lisbon and Porto, has become very expensive, and the general cost of living is definitely on the rise. It's not the ultra-cheap haven it was a decade ago. And let's be crystal clear on this point, Portugal is not a zero-tax option. If your number one goal is to pay absolutely 0% in income tax, then this is not the country for you. The new system is about tax reduction, not tax elimination. So, let's do a quick comparison to put it in perspective. If 0% is your target, you should be looking elsewhere. Dubai offers a straightforward 0% income tax. Countries like Paraguay and Panama have territorial tax systems, meaning you only pay tax on income earned inside the country. Georgia has its famous 1% tax rate for certain micro-businesses. And then you have places like the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands, which also have no personal income tax. If your only metric is the lowest possible tax bill, legally speaking, one of these countries is likely a better fit. But here's the trade-off. If you want to live in Europe, if you value safety, a rich culture, an amazing lifestyle, and still want to benefit from a significantly reduced tax burden, then Portugal remains one of the absolute best options available. It strikes a balance that few other countries can match. You get the European quality of life with a tax bill that's far more manageable than in places like Germany, France, or the UK. And that brings us to the real verdict, the truth behind the headlines. When the NHR program was scrapped, the news made it sound apocalyptic. NHR is dead. Portugal is over for expats. The golden goose is cooked. It was dramatic and honestly, pretty misleading. The reality is much more nuanced and, frankly, more interesting. Portugal didn't just slam the door shut. It redesigned its system to be more sustainable and more aligned with EU standards. They replaced a program that was facing international pressure with something built for the long haul. This new 2026 regime is more stable, more EU-approved, and for a lot of people, it's actually better than the old NHR ever was. This is especially true for certain remote workers, digital nomads, and foreign professionals in specific fields. The structure of the new incentives can lead to a lower effective tax rate for many people in the mid to high income brackets compared to the flat 20% of the old NHR. So, if you're seriously considering a move to Portugal, my advice is simple. Ignore the clickbait headlines from last year. You need to look at the actual math. Pull up the new tax brackets. Calculate your potential liability based on your specific income and see how it stacks up. More importantly, look at what you truly value. Is it purely about the lowest tax number? Or is it a holistic decision about your lifestyle, cultural immersion, and long-term stability. And always remember this core principle: the best tax strategy isn't a generic one you read about in an article. The best tax system is the one that is perfectly aligned with your life, your goals, and your priorities, not someone else's headline. If you're curious about those true zero tax options and want a deep dive into how places like Dubai, Georgia, and Panama really work, make sure you subscribe to the channel because those breakdowns are coming up next. If this video helped you, subscribe. The next one might save you thousands. The next video: how nomads pay zero tax without moving. Don't miss it.